legislation to allow school district boards of education to conduct meetings by teleconference or video conference, providing the meeting also can be observed by the general public. In order to comply with this requirement, tonight's meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and also on the district's YouTube channel. While operating under this blended meeting environment and in the spirit of maintaining public participation, the board has accepted written comments in addition to those wishing to speak during the meeting on non-agenda items. Those wishing to address the board regarding non-agenda items must have submitted the required information to speak at the meeting or written comments to be read at the meeting prior to noon today. As of noon today, no one has signed up to address the board regarding non-agenda items. Those wishing to address the board on agenda items may submit their name, the topic of their comments, their email address, and the phone number from which they may be calling in the chat area of this Zoom meeting between now and 7 p.m. So all concerns may be heard. Please observe the following rules for public participation. Only 3 people may speak or submit written comments on the same topic. Each speaker may take up to 5 minutes to address the board, and each speaker may not reflect adversely on individuals. While public participation will not be interactive during tonight's meeting, follow-up with individuals submitting public comments will occur at a later time. All comments are considered public record and are therefore subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Having received confirmation that the video is streaming correctly, Southwestern City School District Board of Education President, Mrs. Kathy Johnson, will now call the meeting to order.
Thank you for attending tonight's meeting of Southwestern City School District Board of Education. While the agenda will be visible during the meeting for those watching online, you may also follow along using the agenda posted on our website at www.swcsd.us under the Board of Education tab. Please remember that public participation will not exist tonight's meeting. We have no one signed up. Please note that tonight's blended meeting may not run perfectly, but we are doing our best to keep things running smoothly as we continue down the path of blended virtual school board meetings. The May 10th, 2021 meeting, the Southwestern City School District is now called to order. Roll call.
Mr. Caldwell.
Here.
Mr. Donofrio.
Here.
Mr. Ragland.
Here.
Mr. Schreiner.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here. First, we need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Schreiner, I'll move that. Second, Caldwell?
Thank you. Any additions to that? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Now we need a motion to approve the minutes from the April 26th meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. We'll need a second.
Second, Ragland?
Okay, are there any corrections? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. And we have our presentation by Mr. Garside, 5-year forecast.
Madam President, members of the board, it's that time of year this is the update of the 5-year forecast that was originally passed in October by state law. School districts in the state of Ohio had to pass the forecast in October and then in May. The October one can be passed in November, but we're going to probably stay on that schedule of October. First slide, please. Time frame that this covers is fiscal year 2021 through 2025. The graph you see up there right now, the blue represents revenue, red represents expenditures, and green represents cash balances. We've always talked about our cash balances needing to be in a target from 3 to 6 months of active operating expenditures, and we're well within those targets in this forecast. One thing I'd like to point out that in 2025, we do have a positive cash balance, which is a good thing. But I do want to note that the expenditures do outpace revenues in future years. So those are things we're going to have to watch. One thing about that, though, is I've said this many, many times that I put the forecast together in a conservative manner. So I expect revenues to come in a little bit better. I expect expenditures to come a little bit lower, and that will improve our overall financial situation. But I think it's been the pleasure of the board to do it that way, to make sure that there's no unforeseen hiccups in the future or anything. If there's something that comes up that's like when the pandemic hit, we didn't know what was going to happen. We had that cushion to make sound decisions instead of rash, fast decisions. So we were in a good spot when that all hit, that we could really take a step back and look where we were and make some decisions accordingly. So go ahead and move to the next slide. I'm going to go through some highlights that I think are important for you to know as a board member and also as a community member out there, those that are listening. I mentioned this in the last forecast in October, but we had a little situation with Mount Carmel Health, the new hospital that was put in. They are a tax exempt entity, but had not filed their paperwork yet to get that exemption, and received a tax bill, paid that tax bill. And the amount that was received by Southwestern City Schools, about $7 million. I anticipated in the forecast in October that would be repaid with this first half settlement in 2021. That did not happen yet, so it will all come out of the second half settlement in 2021, which is in next fiscal year. So I just did some adjusting on when that would actually happen, but it's still accounted for. That's a pretty material item, so we wanted to keep an eye on that to make sure that we were accounting for it properly. There are still 2 unapproved state biennium budgets within this forecast. That that budget process is moved to the Senate. Hopefully, there's a fair school funding plan out there that is beneficial to the school district and to many school districts throughout the state of Ohio. And we're a proponent of that. We passed a resolution in support in the fall. And hopefully that is something that is going to move forward for all school districts in the state of Ohio. Currently, our state funding is about 56% of our overall operating revenue. So we're going to be watching this closely. The forecast projects flat revenue. Do I believe that we will have flat revenue in the future? Probably not. We're probably going to get some increases, but I don't want to be out on the edge with that. So as soon as we know that, you'll get those updates, and the October forecast will have a biennial budget in place, and we'll be able to put some more solid sound figures in there for that. So definitely something we're keeping an eye on. Also, wanted to point out there are a few things that are noteworthy, I believe. We have quite a few funds that are coming in that, first of all, there's something called Student Wellness and Success Funds that came with the last biennial budget, and we received about $12 million of Student Wellness and Success Funds. Those were, and the state even recognized this and said, these were dollars that you would have normally gotten in your state revenues, but we're going to make you account for them in a separate fund. Because they're accounted for in a separate fund, they're not showing up on this forecast. So you'll see some decreases in expenditures that look a little funny, but it's because those dollars are being accounted for in a state fund, which is not included in the forecast. So that's something that looks a little strange. The other one is the elementary and secondary schools emergency relief funds, the ESSER funds that you've heard about. We have 2 allocations that we know what they are, 1 and 2. 3, we have projections, but we haven't had an allocation dropped into our bucket to be available to us yet. We're going through the planning processes on how we think we should spend those funds. But what is to note about those 2 is those also won't be accounted for in the 5-year forecast. So you'll see some adjustments. We've done some things to account for those, and then the assumptions to the forecast, you can read the details on those and really get down and dirty with that. But I'll explain that a little bit more on the expenditure side. On the expenditure side, those reductions to expenditures were due to the Student Wellness and Success Funds and the ESSER funds. We partnered with the ESC for our Student Wellness and Success Funds. They have provided services to the districts for physical and mental health services, OT, PT, psych services. They've been doing that. We've been a partner with them for a long time. So we're using those Student Wellness and Success Funds to keep those programs going. So they've been a great partner with that. The ESSER funds, we had the Virtual Learning Academy. It was one big piece where we've used those ESSER funds to fund that. That was not something that we've had in the past. We moved quite a few staff out of buildings into virtual space, provided not only the ability to do that, but the staffing to do that. So all those pandemic related expenses that are ESSER funds have been carved out of the general fund. The monies that we were spending out of the general fund before were moved to the ESSER fund. So that freed up some balances in our general fund. Another note, just to stick on that slide for just a second more, within the forecast, the first fiscal year we're working on right now is fiscal year 2021. It's the one that's ending in June. Next year's fiscal 2022, those are the numbers that you'll see kind of going into our budget for next school year. That's the budget you approve at the June 28th board meeting that we have in the morning. I'll have all the documents ready, and we'll be able to approve that budget, and also have all our documents ready that I can take to the county budget office to make sure we're in compliance with all the rules and regulations that are set forth for that. So I just want to make you aware that when we're putting these forecasts together, yes, we are working on the current fiscal year, and that budget's already been put in place, but those amounts and those dollars all kind of matriculate through the system to create a budget for the next fiscal year that's coming up. Okay, go ahead and move to the next slide. We had a triennial update this year. property values and property house sales, and just everything's been going really crazy. This is a slide I think I first introduced this in 2018. Some board members that are here weren't here at that time. And I think it's an important thing to know because this is a very confusing thing on how Ohio taxes its class 1 property, which is residential and agricultural, and properties altogether for that matter. What you see up there is a graph, and the blue represents property values, assessed property values for class 1 only. This is residential and agricultural. We really, as a district, don't have a lot of agricultural values, so pretty much these are homes that our community folks live in. So the blue represents the homes that our parents and community members live in. The red line is effective millage rate. So millage rates are passed. We have 61 voted mills. We don't collect 61 voted mills because as values go up and down, millage rate adjusts. So what this shows in 2009, the reason why I chose 2009, anybody remember what happened way back in 2009? That was our last operating levy. So that's a long time ago. We've done a great job by staying off the ballot for operating dollars since 2009. So if you look back at that time, in 2009, we had about $1.8 billion of assessed value. And as you watch that move across, in 2011, you see a dip. That was the housing market crash. You see that dip down, it stays down pretty low until 2017. It rises back up again. That was when the full county reappraisal happened. And that happens, every 6 years. In the interim, you put in a triennial update. That's what happened in 2020. Housing markets is going strong. We have a lot of construction, a lot of things going on. That bumped up to this now over 2.2 billion in assessed value. So it's grown quite a bit. So it's not only gone back to where it was, but it's exceeded that amount. Now, what's that mean? What's that have to do with what's it do to your effective millage rate? You can see as we passed that levy in 2009, it kind of bumped our millage rate up. And when the housing values went down, the millage rate went up to collect roughly the same amount of money. And then when it went back up, it went back down. So there's a direct correlation to values increasing and millage or decreasing and the millage rate going up and down. I've talked about this for a long time. I think the next slide really illustrates on how this is not the excitement level in the room. That's not that flat line is not the excitement level in the room. That flat line represents the tax dollars we collect from class 1 property from that same time frame, 2010 through 2020. So you can see there's no big ebbs and there's no big spikes and decreases and increases. You see that just remaining flat. And that's how property taxes work in the state of Ohio. I think this is a really good graphical representation to show you how that works and to really, make you think about that. So when you hear from folks in the community or just statewide even, this is a good thing to be able to show them or tell them or talk to them about, because it is important to note that, it is a big piece of our revenues. It's a big piece of what we do. But without putting additional going to the voters and saying, we would like you to do this, we're not going to get a whole lot of revenue without doing that. So I just think it's important, especially for you were not here for that last presentation. So I thought that would be good to point that out again. And I think it is valuable information overall. Be gearing up for the next forecast in October. We will be working hard to get those numbers together, keep you up to date on the status of the state funding, state budget, on what's going on with that, and just make sure we got our finger on the pulse with that. With that, I just welcome any questions that anybody has.
So for the individual homeowner, how does this impact what they pay year by year? So when triennial happened, because the property values in our community had increased because of more growth and everything, do they pay less in taxes or do they pay the same in taxes?
That's a great question. So here's how that works. And so Our district, roughly the overall class 1 property values increased 18%. That's on average. Okay. If my home increased 18%, I roughly paid the same amount of taxes. Now, there are some things out there. There was a couple levies that went on that weren't school district levies. You had I think the senior levy and then the Columbus State levy that was out there. Those increased your taxes. You're going to pay more because that's a new tax. But if you look at the school tax, it's roughly the same. 18%, if your value increased the average. It went up, it didn't move. If the average is 18 and my home increased in value by 30%, my taxes are going up. They're going to go up. Now, I hear from those people. These people give me a call. Some people, if it was 18%, maybe their value only grew 10%. Guess what happens to their tax bill? It goes down. Their taxes go down. People's taxes go down due to reappraisal and triennial update. People's taxes go up and some stay the same. The real purpose for reappraisal and triennial update is to, make sure everybody's paying their fair share. So it's not about taxes going up or down. It's more about, okay, you were paying a little bit too much. This guy should have been paying a little bit less, or working that out so it's kind of smoothed out and everybody's paying what they should pay. So that's an excellent question, but that's the basic gist of how that works.
Thanks. And if folks have questions about how that has been assessed, I mean, they can always go to the auditor's website or.
They can. The auditors will tell them the same things I just told you, and they can show you specific. I take the names and keep the characters off the information, but I'll show people. Here's an example. Here's a property in our district where their taxes went down. Here's here's where it goes up. Here's where it's the same. So I pull out some examples like that so people can see that. Good question.
Thank you very much. Very thorough report as always. Moving now to board reports. Seeing none, we have no public participation, so we're moving to Mr. Schreiner with the legislative liaison report.
Thank you, President Johnson. Perfect timing with the Ohio House sending the biennial budget to the Ohio Senate, which was already mentioned. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Legislators in the Ohio House of Representatives passed on April 21st the substitute House Bill HB 110 by a vote of 70 to 27. The bill was amended through an extensive committee process, included many education-related changes, the largest change being the inclusion of House Bill 1, the Fair School Funding Plan. However, the House Finance Committee did modify parts of the Fair School Funding Plan, which Mr. Garside mentioned, that was included in the biennial budget. There were modifications, which I will not read all of now, a number of them, but will be part of my report if you choose to read that. House Bill 1 sponsors Representative Jamie Callender and Bride Rose Sweeney both provided remarks about the Fair School Funding Plan on the House floor. Callender made the following statement, and I think that it speaks to this. What an opportunity we have to finally vote on a bill that eradicates and makes up for years of lost time in putting our children first and having something that is fair, predictable, sustainable, transparent, bipartisan, that superintendents, principals, unions, and taxpayers could all agree on. This school formula, having an actual formula, is bigger in the scope of history than any of those issues that might lead lawmakers to vote against the budget. Ohio is closer than it has ever been before to a constitutional system of school funding. I know in my heart that there is no more time to delay. Substitute House, unquote. Substitute House Bill 110 also includes provisions on House Bill 2, which would establish the residential broadband expansion program and appropriates over $200 million to be used for grants. Additionally, the bill eliminates language from the introduced version that would have required high school students to complete the FAFSA in order to graduate, provides an opt-out from the requirement to take ACT or SAT tests beginning with the class of 2026, and includes $45 million in each fiscal year to support school bus purchases. The substitute bill maintains provisions of the introduced version that requires all students the option to enroll in computer science courses or general education courses that include computer science curriculum. Several transportation provisions were also left unchanged, including changes to the ridership count by school districts to allow the use of the higher of the morning or afternoon counts and so on, some additional changes. The Ohio Senate will now work on substitute House Bill 110 through the various committees to develop its recommended changes to the bill. And I believe Mr. Garside mentioned that as well. There's a lot of recently introduced legislation that is also part of my report that will be posted in the minutes. Otherwise, that concludes my report tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Moving now to student and staff achievement, Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you. President Johnson. Tonight in student staff achievement, we have lots of great students that we want to recognize. First, we're going to start with Franklin Heights High School students, Tristan Hillebrand and Jacob Harding, for committing to military service by enlisting in the United States Army. Next, we want to go to Central Crossing High School, where Sadie Stortz was announced the winner of the GrooveU Instavan Unplugged Finals, and she has now won a recording contract with Elementary Records, a studio EP, and a full production of a music video for one of her original songs. We want to definitely congratulate Sadie. That's amazing. Next, we want to congratulate our Southwestern Career Academy Grill and its culinary arts students for being awarded first place in the Taste of Grove City's Burger Week. The Deadly Sin Burger is now the official best burger in town, and the Career Academy Grill is available for carryout. So if you want to go to SWCSD careeracademy.com, you can go to there and check out the menu. They have carryout available there. Congratulations to Franklin Heights High School students who won the awards in the 2001 Congressional Art Show. In second place, we had Natalia Castro for Sunflower. In third place, we had Claudia Martinez for Fall Leaves Self-Portrait. For People's Choice, Katie Purcell used a photo that was taken at Franklin Heights, but is now in Grove City, of a bird. And for the Lynx Award, Shelley Taylor, self-portrait of hand mirrored in the snow. So congratulations to our Franklin Heights High School students who won those awards. Next, congratulations to Southwestern Career Academy Cybersecurity student Colton Hosfield, who's been awarded the Ohio Department of Higher Education Choose Ohio First Information Systems Technology Scholarship at Columbus State Community College. As a COF scholar, Colton will receive full tuition coverage as well as assistance with fees and books as he pursues an Associate of Applied Science in Cybersecurity at Columbus State starting the fall of 2001. This prestigious scholarship program will also support Colton with a small, tightly knit cohort of IT students, membership in several clubs, a career-oriented speaker series, career services training, and access to paid apprenticeship opportunities in the second year through CSCC's IT Flexible Apprenticeship Program. Congratulations, Colton. Next, congratulations to Franklin Heights High School. I'm going to get that right one of these times. Franklin Heights High School students, Aisha Abdir Aman and Tadia Sullivan, for being recognized by Centiro as at the 30th Annual Catalyst for Positive Change Awards for demonstrating outstanding community service and impact. These students embody integrity, empowerment, innovation, inclusion, plus make the lives of others better through community service and involvement. Congratulations to them. Next, Grove City High School's Harmonia Advanced Women's Choir and Advanced Mixed Choir Chorale have been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall in June of 2022. And we want to congratulate both of those groups. When I asked them, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? They said, practice. Congratulations to our, it's really quiet here tonight. Congratulations to our Southwestern Career Academy students who competed in the Skills USA state competition. Madeline McKnight, second in cosmetology, Brandon Dildine, fifth in technical drafting, and Brandon Bowers, sixth in automotive service technology. And last but certainly not least, congratulations to Westland High School student Jacqueline Lopez Reyes for being accepted into the Apple Summer Experience. Before COVID, Jacqueline would have got to spend a month at the Apple headquarters in California, learning from their software engineers and other technical staff. But with travel restrictions, Jacqueline will be learning virtually from Apple experts. And Jacqueline is in the Accelerated Learning Center's software development program. So congratulations to Jacqueline. Moving on to staff achievements, we want to congratulate the Southwestern Career Academy English teacher Laura Gaber on being invited to serve as a panelist to discuss the PAGES program. PAGES is the Wexner Center's award-winning art and writing program. Next, congratulations to all of our PTA outstanding educators and Helping Hands Award recipients. There's actually a video slideshow of all those honorees available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SWCS district, which most of you are probably watching tonight's school board meeting. Next, we want to go to the Master Teacher Committee that has designated 2 master teachers in the district. So congratulations to Leah Walter and Jennifer Zelli, both science teachers at Finland Middle School. And the last part is about how our district is giving back. Southwestern City School District gives back. We want to thank the engineering and robotics students at Southwestern Career Academy who built a tiny house for Jordan's Crossing Resource Center, and the Westland High School Key Club that donated 80 bouquets of flowers to a local skilled nursing facility to help celebrate Mother's Day. That concludes tonight's student and staff achievement report, President Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. And I'd like to recognize that our communications department, Mrs. Nekoloff, gets a lot of those out on Facebook. It's one of the things I look forward to, besides family things, reading on Facebook. Moving now to items for action, fiscal and operational management, Mr. Schreiner.
Thank you, Madam President. There are 6 action items this evening under fiscal and operational management. The first is the revised permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020-21. Exhibit X1, it's recommended that the Board of Education approve the revised permanent appropriations. Secondly, investments and financial statements for April 2021. Exhibit X2 and X3, it's recommended that in accordance with section 135.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, the Board of Education approved April investments. Exhibit X2 in the cash position report for the month of April 2021. Exhibit X3 is submitted. Total investments, $414,935,162.07. Interest earnings month to date, $126,339.01. Interest earnings year to date, $2,005,740.75, with interest rates of 0.020 to 1.670%. Third, payment of bills, Exhibit X4. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve payment of bills according to the list of checks for the month of April 2021. One that is just so greatly appreciated, number 4, our donations, Exhibit X5, total donations of $41,327.60. Fifth, authorization to pay bills in accordance with section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code, Exhibit X6. It is recommended that the Board of Education authorize the treasurer to pay bills for April which were not processed in accordance with section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code, Exhibit X6. And finally, 6th, what you had the, like myself, more easily understood and explained excellent presentation from our treasurer this evening, bringing it down to many levels, and it's appreciated. Approval of the 5-year forecast. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the 5-year forecast as presented, Exhibit X7. After reviewing these items, Madam President, I move them for passage.
We need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Donofrio. Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Schreiner,
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio,
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell,
Yes.
Mr. Ragland,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to curriculum, Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, President Johnson. Tonight, under items for action, under curriculum, we have 7 items. Item 1 is the modification for the class of 2001 graduate requirements. And those modifications can be seen on the agenda under Exhibit A. Item number 2 is the modification of AG 5421A for 2020-2021 school year. Item number 3 is the first reading of textbooks and instructional materials for music course of study grades K through 6. Item number 4 is the first reading of textbooks and instructional materials for drama and theater course of study grades 9 through 12. Item 5 is the second and final reading of music grades K through 12 course of study. Item 6 is the second and final reading of the drama and theater grades K through 12, grades 9 through 12 course of study. And number 7 is the second and final reading of textbooks and instructional materials for science course of study grades 9 through 12. Having reviewed these items, I would move them for passage.
Second, Shriner.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to facilities development, Mr. Donofrio.
Thank you, President Johnson. Good evening, everyone. On tonight's agenda for facilities development, we have 2 items for consideration. First, a resolution to authorize granting for a public purpose easements to the city of Columbus, Ohio at 3505 Briggs Road near West Franklin Elementary School. The city is installing ADA compliant sidewalks in the area of our school. And second, a resolution to award a contract to George J. Eibel and Company Incorporated for transportation lot improvements in the amount of $356,000 and $44,000 in owner contingency. Having reviewed these items, I recommend the passage and move to do so at this time.
We need a second.
Second, Ragland.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Continuing with Mr. Donofrio for students, school, and community.
Thank you again, President Johnson. I'm so glad that we're able to bring back this section of the agenda tonight. For student, school, and community, we have 2 items for consideration. First, to reauthorize 2021-2022 membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association for Brook Park, Finland, Jackson, Norton, and Pleasant View Middle Schools, and for Central Crossing, Franklin Heights, Grove City, and Westland High Schools. And second, to approve band camp rehearsals for Grove City High School at Skyview Ranch in Millersburg, Ohio, from August 8 to 13 of this year. Having reviewed these items, I recommend their passage and move to do so at this time.
We need a second.
Second, Caldwell.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to personnel with Mr. Ragland.
Well, thank you, President Johnson. On the board agenda this evening are 8 personnel items involving 958 persons. This includes 14 certificated resignations, 4 administrative employments, 10 certificated changes in employment status, 215 certificated employments, 8 classified resignations, 13 classified changes in employment status, 34 classified employments, and 660 certificated reemployments. And after review of these items, I do recommend them for passage.
Second, Shriner.
Questions? Comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. We have no public participation this evening, so now.
President Johnson.
Oh,
Intro. Just an intros.
we're here. Oh,
They're here off to the side.
okay. Go ahead, Dr. Metzger.
Thank you, President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Wise, Mr. Garside. We do have all 4 of our new administrators with us tonight, so I'd like to introduce them and maybe they'd like to poke their head in and say a couple of words. We've got 4 good new administrators. Lucas Tuggle is our new athletic supervisor at Central Crossing High School. Lucas is currently the athletic director at Centennial High School and the Columbus City Schools. And prior to that, he served as the athletic director at Columbus North International School and also was an assistant athletic director at one time in the Buckeye Valley local schools. Mr. Tuggle, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Like to say a few words?
Yep, I just want to thank the board, you, Dr. Metzger, Mr. Ferris, and then Mr. Marshall for the opportunity to come aboard. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Lucas. Lori Baylog is our new Director of Certificated Personnel, and she's going to be beginning in our department on July 1, placed Kevin Lappin. Lori, as you know, has served as principal in middle school since 2014. Prior to that, she was an assistant principal at Westland High School, an inclusion support trainer for the district, and an intervention specialist at Norton Middle School. Lori.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to my new role and continuing my work with the district.
Thanks, Lori. All of you know Kevin Lappin, our current Director of Certificated Staff. He's been with us since the beginning, teacher, principal of Hayes, and also he's been with me for the last 8 years, I believe. Mr. Lappin?
Thank you, Dr. Metzger, Dr. Wise, Mr. Garside, President Johnson, board. I just thank you for the opportunity to step into the next part of my career and being the principal at Bone Crossing Elementary. They have a great staff, parents and students there, and I'm excited to be their next principal, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Kevin. And finally, Terry Coward is our new case manager liaison at the Buckeye Ranch. Terry's currently the principal at Harding Elementary School in the Youngstown City Schools, where she was also the assistant principal. Prior to that, Terry served as an instructor at Chaffin Technical Center Adult Education in Youngstown. She was a literacy coach at Harding and a teacher both in Youngstown and in the Warren City Schools. Hi, Terry.
Hello. I would just like to thank the board for the opportunity to serve, and I'm excited about the new opportunity. So again, thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you. And we welcome all of you to the district. Since there is no public participation, it is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn to executive session according to policy 0166 to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees. I make that motion. We need a second.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. We do not anticipate conducting any business following the executive session. Are they welcome to hang out on YouTube and wait?
For those folks on the Zoom link, we will leave that open for YouTube because we're unsure of the time. We will go ahead and close that. So individuals would like to see us close the meeting, even though as Mrs. Johnson indicated, we do not anticipate any action, are welcome to do so with the Zoom link. And we'll reconvene in this room at that time to close the meeting. So thank you for attending.